Claire Louise Hay. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's glad to have you on and have you be here with us today. Get to
Yeah,
know you.
great to be on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let me give you a brief introduction here for the audience, and then we'll jump right into it.
Okay.
You are an intuitive healer and spiritual teacher who helps people reconnect with their inner guidance and live in alignment through energy healing, readings, and spiritual coaching. You're the founder of BeHealing.com, a platform that offers personal guidance sessions, courses, and daily inspiration to support emotional, spiritual, and personal growth. You have a popular YouTube guide where you share daily tarot and energy updates with a dedicated global audience, offering clarity and direction through intuitive insights. You have an empowerment focused approach where your teachings emphasize self awareness, conscious choice making, and aligning with one's higher self to create a more fulfilling life. And your global reach and impact around the world, which you work with, bridges practical guidance with deep spiritual insight, helping people live with purpose and flow. It's
That's right.
amazing, amazing the work that you do. One of the reasons why I was very interested in having you on is because I know from my own personal experience, working with an intuitive healer um, helped me grow exponentially on my healing journey compared to
Right.
5+ years of traditional psychotherapy. So,
Yeah, I found the same thing too, is that it's a fast track. It can be a fast track because you can hear the right information
yeah,
that really makes a huge difference instead of going through a long, laborious process of trying to get to that place yourself.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I only have one scripted question, and that's always the first one. So we'll start off with that. And it is, where were you born and what was life like as a kid for Claire?
Okay. Well, I was born in England and grew up there. And if I were to put it into a word, my childhood, it would be terror.
Okay.
I had a very difficult childhood. For as long as I remember, and I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood, but as long as I remember, and my memories are pretty early, it's the majority of it is abuse, all kinds of abuse.
Mm,
I found it very difficult to exist like that. And the only way, like I remember being a kid and just spending a lot of time detached in this state where I was having to go within to regulate myself
yeah.
emotionally and deal with what was going on. And I think when I was doing that, even though it was like this detached state, it was also a meditative state.
Okay.
And so it did bring me a lot of benefit in the long term, in the short term and in the long term, kind of choosing that way. Not that it was much of a choice, but choosing that way to be in order to, yeah, survive what was going on in the household. So yeah, my family, they were very religious
Okay.
Catholics. And so there was a positive influence in my life about what goodness was, but behind closed doors, none of that was happening.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a show. We had to put a show on for everybody. Um, I remember things like, as soon as the door would close, everything would change. We could have a visitor come round and I could be normal, and having a good time and connecting with someone. It feel really good to have a normal person in the house. But as soon as they left, as soon as that door closed, oh, the air would shift, and then I think my parents were just so insecure that they would, blow up at me like, why did you say that? Why did you act like that? And I'd been a normal person, I'd been
Yeah.
a normal person with those interactions, but it was just so uncomfortable for them to be like that, so outside of their comfort zone. that, yeah, there was punishments for being like a normal person and interacting with people. I can laugh now. Yeah, it's taken me many years to get there, and to see the benefits that I got from surviving that.
Right.
One of them being my gift. I don't know whether I would have had the gift anyway, or whether it was born from so much meditation, so much of that detached state that I had to get into, or a mixture of the two. I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What type of work did your parents do?
My dad worked in IT.
Okay.
He was a manager in IT. My mum, when we were young, she wasn't working. A long story there. She'd had to give up school when I think she was about 13 to take care of her mum. Her mum was very sick. And so she'd always been very bitter about that, having to give up school and give up, her life. But when I was an early teenager, she went back. I'd had problems, health problems. When I was in hospital, she'd really got into radiography. She was so interested in what they were doing. And so she went back to school and she did her A levels, and then she did her radiography stuff, and then started working in a hospital. Mm.
Okay. Did you have any siblings at all?
Yeah, I've got an older brother, a year and a half older than me.
Okay.
Mm.
And when you were experiencing some of that anger from your parents, was your brother protective of you at all in any way?
No.
No. Mhm.
No, he was very much the same as them. They really created a monster in him. We were just so opposites, me and him. The same stuff happening to us, but I was taking it and feeling it, and of the mindset of I would never do anything like that to anyone because I was feeling, what it was like, and
Yeah.
I've got empathy.
Right.
And yeah, not him. No, no. He did the same thing. He turned into the worst abuser of the three of them.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, nowhere to turn.
Okay.
Mm.
Was was school, elementary school for you, uh, an outlet for you to be able to maybe breathe somewhat away from being home?
No,
Okay.
no, it wasn't. As I said, I was Catholic, and so I went to these Catholic schools, and they were very strict. Um, I'm just trying to think, is there any teachers that were softer? I think there were in high school
Okay.
a little bit, but none that really reached out. Looking back, with if it was today
Yeah,
when I was going to school, it would have been picked up on what was happening to me because of my behavior.
for sure.
Um, Kept on going to the doctor with these things, burst eardrums because I'd be hit across the head. It would burst my eardrums. The doctor never asked, why, or if he did, when he never asked me, he
Right.
might have asked my parents when I was out of the room, but like they were going to tell him.
Yeah.
There was so much going on that I think people today would have picked up on it,
Okay.
hopefully, anyway. But no, at school was, I found a lot of the same people, same kind of people, very unhappy. I had friends there, but I wouldn't call them close friends. There were girls that I'd hang out with, but there was a lot of bitchiness
Okay.
between, there'd
Sure.
always be something going on, someone ostracized. There's that harshness all the
Right.
time. It was only when I got to uni that I met people that were softer,
Right.
you
Right.
know. That seemed to be the first time that I met good people. Now, no, that's not true. There was a lady, once my mum had gone back to school, and when I was sick of school, there was a lady should come around and take care of me. She was a good person.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember going away on like school holidays. There was a Catholic place we went to, like a retreat center.
Mhm.
The staff there would be really good with me. I went on like an adventure holiday as well with a lot of kids at a boarding school.
Okay.
We had a lot of activities to do. The teachers there were good too. And so whenever I went away to these things and had like a little snapshot of normal life and normal people, I would never want to go back home from that. I would really,
Right.
get back home, burst into tears. So yeah, there was an element of snapshots of a kind of a gentler world. But it was only really when I got to uni and made good friends and started visiting their houses and their families, the interactions that they had. And it was like, wow, this is, so different. Likewise, my friends would come to visit my family, and what they would say was they're very hard people.
Wow.
And almost everybody that has ever met anyone in my family that have been good friends of mine
Yeah.
have said the same thing to me. And I never want to see them again.
Wow.
Mm, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that for you. Um, yeah, it must have been very difficult. And I can only imagine the amount of anxiety that would arise up when it was time to go back home after those
Mm,
experiences of being away,
mm,
um, experiencing somebody softer, somebody who is a little bit kinder, um, those types of things. You
mm.
mentioned you were sick as a girl. What was it something that ended up putting you in the hospital, or was it how was it? Uh,
Yeah, I had 3 kidneys they found out. And so,
oh wow.
yeah, as you say, I did have a lot of anxiety issues, but I had this problem where I couldn't stop wetting myself. I'd do it at school, anywhere really. And so it went on for so long that my parents took me to the doctors about it, and they we had all of that radiography done. Yeah, and it turns out I've got 3 kidneys and one of them wasn't working properly. So my bladder was always full.
Mm,
So I never had that. I never knew when I needed to pee. It
right.
just felt like that all the time. So that was the problem. So yeah, I did end up having an operation when I was 8, on that, which rectified it. Mm. So now I've got 3 working kidneys.
Wow.
Mm.
So they didn't take it out. They just adjusted the way that it was functioning internally in terms of uh,
Yeah, yeah. I think with the kidneys, they have can't remember, was it urethras? They come out, excuse me, they come out the top of the kidneys and then go to the bladder. Well, 2 of them, it was coming out the top, but the third one at the bottom, it was that tube was coming out of the bottom, which is why there
gotcha.
would be that flux going the wrong way. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, now I've got 3 working kidneys, which is
Wow.
handy.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Was there any forms of creativity as a kid for you that allowed you to kind of maybe um, shift into a place of comfort? Because I know a lot of times kids will get caught up in drawing or creating worlds with painting or drawing or using crayons or different things like that that allow them to kind of have that as an escape. Was any of that part of your upbringing?
No, not really, not with the creativity. I mean, I did enjoy drawing and painting, music as well.
Okay,
But I played the piano. In fact, I played everything. I could play everything by ear. So I was playing guitar and piano and violin, and but it didn't seem like it was an outlet for me because my parents put me like on the stage, and but I don't know whether they would have them where you are, but or whether they had them. I hope they're still not doing these things anymore. But they would have things like we would each play the same piece on the piano and like be competing with the other children. I don't know, it's just like competitive who played it more perfectly. It was horrible. It wasn't creative, and it wasn't, it wasn't a
right,
nice
yeah,
experience at all. So there was always competition involved in it all. And I remember always trying to be perfect, trying to please them. So to me, I had this very self-disciplined way about me to try and do everything right. And so just remembering back as a little girl, I would try and, yeah, I would try and be perfect, try and do everything right. Even my play, I would be playing being an adult.
Oh, wow.
Perhaps yeah, excuse me.
Wow.
Perhaps like being a like a high functioning adult, which is pretty
Yeah.
much what I turned into as well. Um, yeah, apart from the communing with my angels is what I would have called it back then as a child. That seemed to be the only outlet for me, is that going within and talking with these beings that were really gentle with me and like really helping me along.
Yeah. Do you still play music?
I gave it up. I gave it up for a very long time and then got back to it when I was about 30.
Okay.
On the guitar. I picked up a guitar again and started playing it for pleasure. Although when I say pleasure, I would only pick up the guitar when I was sad. It was like an outlet for me when I was sad. It's interesting because yeah, I've got a guitar just in case I ever get sad, but I haven't been sad lately, and so it just sits there unplayed. I met a famous guitarist when I had a massage shop. I do my readings and energy healings there. And as I was massaging him, he was asking me similar questions. And he was saying it's really interesting what I said about me only playing the guitar when I'm sad. And so when I'm happy, don't play it. He said that's why his band stopped creating like new music. It was a guitarist from The Cure. He said, yeah, that's when they went off the boil when they got happy. They didn't have any like new
Oh,
material to
wow.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I used to love them. Oh my word.
Yeah, me too.
That's very interesting.
Mm.
That's why they stopped creating music was they got
Yeah, got happy.
wow. That's so fascinating because it was so good. Uh, it had an etheric tone to it from my perspective. Um,
Yeah,
and I guess too, during that time, that was probably a big time of when I was in depression and anxiety and stuff. So it was, uh, I could appreciate it because of feeling those emotions. Uh,
yeah, yeah. They were
and
speaking to a generation in a certain emotional state. Yeah,
yeah, for sure,
yeah,
sure. When you were younger, you're saying you're talking to your angels. At what age do you remember that being something that was coming to you? Um, was it a particular age that you started sensing that, or was it just kind of a gradual thing?
I think it was a gradual thing. Like there didn't seem to be a start to it for me. There wasn't some, you know, huge revelation that I remember. I think the earliest age that I remember talking with them would be about the age 3.
Okay.
Um, but that's just because I don't have many memories before that.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of memories between the age of 4 and 8. I kind of remember around the operation time because that was quite significant. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of my early childhood, there's just very little memory there at all. I've worked with kinesiologists on that as well, trying to retrieve some of it or trying to get to the bottom of that. But I think it's probably better just to leave that, leave that
Sure.
being locked up where it is. There's some
Yeah.
things that I haven't, I don't need to remember. The body's got these especially the mind, it's got these ways to protect us. Lots of tools to protect us, the mind has, and the body with the nervous system too. So it does it for a reason.
Yeah.
When we lose memories and things like that, it's got good reason to do it. It doesn't do it for nothing. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Absolutely. The body does keep the score. Um,
mhm.
and the mind does step in very often to protect us when we're experiencing something that's very traumatic, and has a tendency to kind of lock those things off. Um, and
Mm,
they affect us throughout our years, um, sometimes in ways that we can't recall or understand how they're affecting us, but eventually, a lot of times we're able to get past those through different forms of therapy, different forms of healing, um, able to tap into those dark spaces.
mm, mm,
You said that you started experiencing some of the kinder side of people when you went off to university. Um,
mhm,
what was maybe one of those first instances for you where you recognized that in somebody, and it kind of gave you some hope of being connected to somebody else?
mm. Yeah, I noticed. Um, so when I went to university, I started out in like student accommodation. It was the university student accommodation, and so it was five of us in an apartment, in a complex of a lot of these apartments altogether. And I'd been matched with um, two girls that ended up being really close friends, and then the other two were not as close. Um, that's really interesting. I haven't thought about them for a long time. But me now, who I am now, knowing myself, if I was back in that situation, I actually would have been friends with the other two more.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. And so it was the friendships that I made, the closest friendships that I made, we were very much in addiction. We were drinking too much.
Okay.
Um, I was drinking too much. They would smoke pot too, but not me. It never really suited me. I try it sometimes, but it doesn't really suit me. But yeah, very much active addiction, and that's what kind of brought us together. But yeah, they had they were much safer people to be around for me. Um, I found myself opening up more. Not at first. I mean, I was there for 3 years. It took me a while to trust
Sure.
and to open up fully. I remember having a lot of very selfish ways looking back, very defensive, you
Yeah.
know, um, imagining that people were using my things when they weren't. I was still, treating people like they were my family, everyone like that. Yet my friends were holding that space for me,
Okay.
being softer with me so that I could trust. Mm. Yeah, the biggest change that I noticed, so I kind of was gradually growing out of being so defensive like that. But it was when I went to actually visit their families, when we in the school holidays, I'd go along with them to visit their families. And noticing the difference there, like one of my friends she had a very creative family, and so the parents would be doing all different kind of things. They would be doing different things, and everyone supporting each other and interested in what they were doing. And it was just kind of so easy and flowing, and not strict and everyone down on themselves like I'd experienced. And that really, just being a witness to that and seeing it around me, it's like, oh, this way of being easy with each other
Right.
was new to me, like really new to me. So it wasn't so much the interaction of when I was at uni, or that did help of us together. It was more how they interacted with the family that was the biggest
Okay.
change for
Yeah,
me.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did you did you study anything specific uh, at university, or was it just all generalized studies?
No, I studied engineering, metallurgy and materials engineering. Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when I was at school, I always wanted to do like woodwork, metalwork, all those things. We couldn't do it back then. Back then we were told like girls, we had to compete with the guys, we had to we had to go out there and get jobs too, but we weren't allowed to do the same subject. So there was like boys subjects and girls subjects. We had to do cooking and stuff. So that seemed very unfair to me. So I always had this chip on my shoulder of wanting to do the boys stuff, so when I went to college, I did craft design and technology. I just did all of those subjects, the sciences, and yeah, so I wanted to go into engineering. So I was just really interested in that stuff that I'd been excluded from
Okay.
previously. It
And
wasn't so much like a drive to do, it wasn't a great passion for those subjects. It was like more like, don't tell me not to do these things. I
yeah,
want to do these things. Yeah.
yeah, just out of spite, you wanna do
Mm,
what you're told you can't do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. Did you have to work while you're going to university as well, or were you able to just focus on the schooling and
Yeah. I didn't have to work. I was lucky.
okay.
Mm.
Once you finished that, um, and you say too that the alcohol was something that was becoming more of a thing that was a coping mechanism to get you through. Did that continue on after university as well?
Yes. So the alcohol started when I was about 12.
Okay.
Um,
Oh
and I
wow.
was encouraged by my parents to drink. They were drinkers,
Really?
alcoholics. They were alcoholics. Yeah, they encouraged me to drink. So um, I remember especially going to church on Sunday mornings. I'd often have to leave the church to vomit. And that would be because I'd been drinking wine the evening before with them. Um, so yeah, from about the age of 12, they would give me wine, kind of watered down, half and half. But of course, with them drinking too much themselves and not really noticing, I guess, how much I'd be having
Yeah.
of that. I also remember liking the feeling of it, it reduced my anxiety.
Yeah.
It did seem like it was a better time, a more relaxed time, both with them and for me too. Um, and so yeah, I carried on using it because it did benefit me. It was, self-medication.
Sure.
For a long time, in fact. I'm 54 now. I quit when I was 47 because I realized that it was working against me then. But it was very much a medication that worked for me, that allowed me to be functional, for the anxiety to go to such a level that I could open up with people and be more relaxed. Mm.
Right.
But I was very emotionally dependent on alcohol. Luckily, I never got chemically dependent on it. And
Okay.
so it's been easy for me throughout the years to have like a few months off drinking. But to be in a social situation and not drink, that was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
I get it.
So yeah, I was very much binge drinking too, drinking a lot. Like my tolerance for alcohol still is way high because of all of the years of
Okay.
drinking.
The thing that's coming to me too, and I wonder if this may play into that with the fact that you have three kidneys, um, as to whether or not possibly just your body makeup is uh, processes it a little bit better so that um, it allowed you not to be addicted to it in a sense.
Perhaps, but it did still make me very sick too. Like I get really
Sure.
bad hangovers. You think that would be enough to put me off, but it hasn't been because the effects of it,
Yeah.
the anxiety reducing effects of it were good enough for me to put up with that. No, yeah, perhaps, but I am like 7/8 Irish. So I know that the Irish are big drinkers and do tend to have a big tolerance. The bodies have a tolerance of alcohol. I did get my liver checked at one point. I think yeah, it was once I'd moved to Australia. I'm getting ahead of ourselves here, but and I was drinking a lot then. Like even for me, I was drinking a lot. And went back to the UK just to visit and went to the doctor at the time and like told him how much I was drinking. And so he checked my liver and it all came back fine. And he said, that doesn't mean you can carry on like that.
Right.
but I thought, yes, it does. It means I can carry on like this. Um, so yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that, to still have my health with all of that.
Very much so. Very much so. At
Mm.
what point, after university, um, did you decide you were going to go into the healing arts, or did you try to go into the engineering of things?
I tried to go into engineering first of all,
Okay.
but there were very few jobs available. However, there were a lot of jobs available in IT at the time. That was back in 1992. And so IT was just booming right then. So there's a lot of graduate jobs available in IT. And so that's what I went into. I had applied for engineering jobs. Yeah, there were just so very few of them available. I can remember like applying for three IT jobs. One of them was in New Zealand. I really wanted that one. But yeah, so few and far between opportunities for engineering then. So yeah, I went into a corporate job in IT and worked there for 8 years until a point where I I just couldn't do it anymore. To me, it was pointless.
Yeah.
It was making me a lot of money. I couldn't stand working in the office environment. Um, I would be, having to work 5 days a week. We had this flexi time thing where we're on this clocking system. So we had to be in between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning and leave between 4 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon and take, however long we wanted for lunch, half an hour to 2 hours between 12 and 2, as long as we made our hours up for the week. And I'd find myself just going in and I'd be online looking at message boards, spirituality and stuff like that. And then I was lucky, I was very good at my work and I can work really fast too. And so usually on a Thursday, I'd get down to my work, get it all done. And then so it'd be easy on a Friday for me, not much to do. And I remember my project leader saying, tearing his hair out because he was trying to use all the metrics, the time metrics and stuff with me, and it just didn't work
Right.
because I would just like mess around and then get my work done.
Yeah.
um, condense it all down. I still work like that now, but luckily I don't have to clock in because I work for myself. So I can do whatever I want the rest of the time and then be really focused on my work, get a lot done in a short amount of time. Just a different way of working, but it wasn't the same as everyone else around me, my way of working. But yeah, it just seemed like a huge waste of my time, really. And it got to the point where the team that I was on had a few things to do, but one of the things we had to do was the intranet for the IT department. So the internal internet site, I can't remember, with HR and all kinds of stuff in it. And we were all stood around the desk because we were looking at this graphic of the corner of the screen and the curve of it. And I just remember at that point taking a step back and saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. What we're doing is just so pointless. Like it's not helping anybody. It's just absolutely pointless.
Yeah.
And that was a point where I was like, I just need to get out of here and follow my own path. Um, so I had been at that point, I'd been pursuing spiritual stuff perhaps for about 4 years. Um, I'd had 3 children along the way as well. And every time I was off on maternity leave, I'd get 6 months of maternity leave. Every time I would be coming up with these ideas, courses that I wanted to go on, like aromatherapy courses, opening my own healing practice, all of these ideas each time. And then the 6 months would be up and I'd go back to work and forget all of that eventually. And then pregnant again, and then I'd get back into that too. So there was always this pull to do my own thing. I knew that I wanted my own healing practice. But yeah, the husband I had didn't want me to do any of that. It didn't want me to do any of that. He wasn't supportive in that at all. We'd met at work and he wanted me to just be that person, continue being that person, don't be who I really am. And like, all fairness to him, we did meet when I was being that. It's not like I knew who I was and I'd kept it from him. I just, like, throughout my 20s had, like, grown into more of who I really was. And so yeah, he didn't like that. And so it just came to this big, like, crescendo moment where I needed to give up everything at the same time, just get away from all of it and pursue my own path. Yeah, which was huge. And so I think it had been about 3 or 4 years that I'd been really pursuing spirituality. I had got myself involved with a charity in Germany as well. That was through a spiritual book that I'd read, and I felt a strong connection with the author of that book.
Okay.
I had gone to Germany. Yeah, I'd already been there. So I'd gone to Germany to um, for a conference there that the author was putting on. And I'd actually met him on the train on the way.
Oh, wow.
He thought he'd walked past the carriage that I was sat in at the station to go to first class where he was booked in. And then instead he stopped because he thought he knew me, got on, and then when he realized, no, I don't know her, and he sat next to me. And yeah, well, he did know me. We'd been chatting back and forth via email. But yeah, it seems like we've got a past life past a lot of times, I think, with a lot of the people there too. So I have to find I got a very strong connection. Anyway, I've been exploring all of these avenues, and it was really a lot of meaning for me, and trying to figure it all out, trying to piece it all together, like, why are these people really important to me? What are these past life things that seem to be coming up? What is it I'm supposed to be doing? Because I had, these snippets of having a private practice, of a healing practice, and just wanting to follow all of that. And so when I was giving up work, I, of course, didn't want to go to another job. And so everyone was asking me, what are you going to do next? Because they're thinking, you go from one job to another. And I said, I don't know. I wasn't prepared to speak to people about it too, because, it's woo and people think it's crazy. So I was keeping all of that to myself, just wanting to, follow my path. I just want
Right.
to live,
Yeah, yeah.
be myself and follow that path that was clearly being shown before me. And the day before my final day at work, the charity sent an email out to everyone that was involved with them, saying they needed some help in Uganda. Is anyone available next week to go and help out there? And so, of course, replied, yes, I am. And so straight away I had something to do as soon as I'd finished work, because I was having to, first of all, get all the jabs that I needed to go there. I think it was yellow fever and stuff that I needed to get before I went there. And then, yeah, I was off next week, starting my journey and doing that. In the meantime, I had applied for residency in Australia too. I wanted to move to Australia. I wanted to move to Australia because when I knew that I was giving up work and my marriage had broken up too, I wanted to go and visit my best friend from school. She was living out in Australia at the time. And yeah, I was going through a lot of turmoil. And so she said to me, I was looking for like a holiday to go on to get away from it all, like maybe a walking holiday in Spain, or, a cooking holiday in Italy, these singles kind of holidays. And chatting with her, and she said, why don't you just come out to Australia, come and visit?
Right.
I said, yeah, that's a really good idea. And so I went just for 2 weeks and spent some time with her, spent some time with her husband too. He was going off on business, so I went with him, showed me around a few places, and then I had a few days by myself too, visiting various places. She'd sorted out my itinerary for me. Sometimes I'd be staying with friends of hers along the way too. And I absolutely loved it. There was only 2 days that I was by myself and not staying with friends of hers when I went there. And that was in Byron Bay. And as soon as I got there, I met a load of locals, and who are still my friends today.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when I came back from Australia back to England, I was still working at the time. And I said, I'm going to move to Australia. Everyone said, you can't go for 2 weeks and only spend 2 days in each place. I
Yeah.
moved to Australia. I said, okay, I'll go back. So I went back and spent, I think it was about 6 weeks there. Took some extended leave, went there for longer, spent most of it in Byron Bay and a little bit like going sailing and doing some scuba diving and all kinds of things. But yeah, came back from that saying, yes, I definitely want to go live there. And so I had a lot of these things happening at the same time, leaving work,
Right. How,
applying for residency in
yeah,
Australia and following my path and going to Africa, all kinds of things.
right. You mentioned that you had three children as well. How
Mm,
how is how is that decision to go somewhere else
mm,
with the three children? What was that like and for you internally? Um,
yeah. Well, so it started out with me still being at work in my corporate job, and um, I owned the house that we were living in, like the family house that we were living in, because he'd had a house before that he couldn't sell.
yeah,
And so I owned that house, but still I needed to move out and give myself space. So I got myself an apartment. So we'd already gone on this system of having like 2 days, and then 3 days with the children, which meant that we had every other weekend with them. And that system was working really well while we were close nearby each other, still working at the same place. But as soon as I was going off to Africa, it was only for a short time, like just 2 months at first. Um, I so then I'd say to him, okay, you have them for 2 months, and then when I get back, I'll have them for 2 months, or we'll go back into the usual arrangement. And so me going and doing that work in Africa for a while, um, kind of eased us into having like longer times
yeah,
without them. And I went to Africa for the second time. Like I wouldn't have taken my children there the first time without knowing what it was like, because I was going to help out at an orphanage, which had um, a medical center there and a guest house there too. When I went back the second time, it was to take computers there and teach the staff, admin staff for the guest house and for the medical center. Um, then I knew like it was safe enough. I was happy enough for my kids to go there, and so I invited all of them there. It was only my eldest son that wanted to go with me, so I took him the second time to do all of that. And so yeah, along the way they'd just kind of been integrated into it. Now, when it came to Australia, when I applied for my residency, I couldn't get it straight away because I needed to be divorced in order to get it. And in the UK at the time, I don't know what it's like now, but you needed to be separated for 2 years before you could get that. And so it took until I got the divorce to be able to get that residency through. So I was just kind of keeping myself occupied while I was doing this. In fact, when I came back the second time from Africa, the residency was waiting for me then. So yeah, once that chapter of doing this charity work had ended, then it was time to go to Australia. And so that's when I sold everything. In fact, it was a really interesting story because I'd sold the house that I had, and I was still in this apartment, and I'd got like half of the furniture that we had in the house in there because we'd split everything 50-50 with the divorce. And this apartment, I needed to sell everything in it, right? I was just moving to Australia with 2 suitcases and my guitar. And there was I put adverts for all of my stuff in the newspaper, and people would come and get a few things, but I still had like a lot of this furniture and everything left. And I can't remember the timing of it now. It always seems last minute for me that things sort themselves out. But I got a phone call from the real estate saying that the person that was moving in was short of a few things, or was asking whether I would leave the washing machine and things like that.
yeah,
And I said, yeah, and I listed out the things that I'd still got. And so she called me back saying, yeah, he'll take all of those. And
Nice.
so that was just so easy. I could just walk out of the place then, and he'd bought everything that was remaining in there. So that was perfect. That made it so much easier. Um, yeah, and then I made my way to Australia.
Okay. And with the residency that you had there, what specifically was that going to be for in terms of the work moving forward?
Right. So I got a skilled independent visa, which would give me residency for 2 years and then citizenship afterwards. Skilled independent means that you prove beforehand that you can take care of yourself. And so mine was based on my 8 years work in IT,
Gotcha.
with having a degree and being at degree level in IT. And yeah, so it didn't mean that I had to. So there's other kind of visas. You can get like sponsored visas where the first 2 years you've been sponsored by a person that will say that they'll look after you, like a family member or something, that they'll look after you. Or you're going into a job the first 2 years, they promise that you've got that job there, you know.
Yeah.
And then you can get citizenship after that. But no, the one that I got was skilled independent. So I proved that I could take care of myself, which means that I was free to do whatever I wanted to do when I got there. So I was thinking, there was two options. The option that I really wanted, I was moving to Byron Bay and starting my own business, healing business. And the second option was to go into IT, go to Brisbane nearby and work in IT. And I thought, well, if I'm changing like the hemisphere that I'm living in, the continent that I'm living on, I might as well change everything at the same time instead of like, doing a half job. And so yeah, I went straight to Byron Bay and started this business, Be Healing. It wasn't called Be Healing at the time. It was called Byron Bay Neurotherapy, but it soon changed into Be Healing as I stopped solely doing neurotherapy and started adding in massage and energy healing and readings to it.
Okay.
Mm.
And the neurotherapy, can you
Mm.
explain a little bit about what that entails for the audience?
Mm. Well, this is something that I came across with the German charity. So the German charity was all about orphanages, but orphan villages, which is why they'd set one up in Uganda too. So that's what it was, an orphan village. So there would be in Germany, there's house parents. So it was like a little village, like a resort kind of thing, where there would be these family houses. You'd have parents, house parents, and then maybe they'd have 5 or 6 children in there. And the children would grow up and would leave, to go off and to uni or do whatever it is that they're doing, but they've still got their house there, and they'd come back to it. And so that was the kind of model that they were working on. But they wanted to take all the children that were falling through the system everywhere else. So ones with disabilities, learning difficulties, that kind of thing. And so as a result of that, they had a lot of therapies available. They were getting into all of these healing therapies and everything to support these children that were in there. And so with my work with them, I'd been introduced to neurotherapy, which is EEG biofeedback. It was something that they were using for kids with learning difficulties, epilepsy, ADHD, a lot of the difficult kids, that were finding it hard to be with foster parents anywhere else would end up there, and it was helping out with them. I was really interested in it, and it turned out that one of the times that I was there, I think it was when I was picking computer equipment up before I went to Africa, they had a conference there. Two of the experts in the field from America were there teaching a few people, and so I was in on it. I wanted to learn more about it, and I went to this conference while I was there, and learned about it, and I was still really fascinated by it too, for myself and for helping people. And, I'd come out of engineering and I've got a science mind, and it seemed to make sense to me. It was comfortable for me to shift into that more than straight into the woo stuff. Um, and so yeah, I was really interested in that. And when I moved to Byron Bay, I was really surprised that there's nobody doing it there. And so I got in touch with these American guys saying, how do I get qualified in this. There's nobody practicing it here. And I don't know if you know anything about Byron Bay or if you've been to Australia. It's like the healing hub. It's a really it was where all the healers live, you know. It's just one of those towns.
Oh,
It's on the
really?
coast, full of hippies and healers. Yeah. So it was really surprising to me that nobody was doing it there. Anyway, I wanted to do it. I wanted to bring it to the place. And so they put me in touch with the organization, the guy that led that in Australia. He was in Melbourne. And I got in touch with him and he said, yeah, there's not many people in Australia that are doing it. He told me where all the practitioners were, and it was mainly in the cities that they were. And I said, well, I want to do it. And it was only available, the training was only available to doctors, psychiatrists, psychotherapists. But they said, you're an engineer and you've kind of been involved in this stuff already. You can come and do it if you want. So I'm like, great, yes, I do want to do it. And so straight away I went off to Melbourne to get my qualifications in that. And I bought the equipment while I was there to do it too. Went back to Byron Bay, needed to buy more equipment there. So EEG biofeedback, it's putting electrodes on the head,
Right.
depending on what's going on. So like if you've got memory problems, it might be, you know, you might have sensors on the back of your head, or anxiety would usually be up here, you know, different placements for them. And two computers. And so I was in front of a computer, they'd be in front of a computer too. And then the brain would play on along with a game, just really simple games like a Pac-Man. And they were to sit in front of it and just focus on trying to get it to go faster and for it to be bright yellow, and for as many beeps as possible. And within a few seconds, the brain would recognize that it was playing the game. And in order to play the game and get it to do those things, it would need to produce like coherent brainwaves in like certain ranges. And so you could actually use it for meditation too. You could set it so that you'd be winning if you're producing alpha and theta brainwaves. So there was that. There was also another therapy that I could do on it too, which was an eyes closed therapy, which was more PTSD, that kind of thing. And that would help the brain be in that switch over period. You know, as you're just falling asleep and just waking up, the brain goes through this switch state. It's a really interesting state. It's the state where you're dreaming as well. And what they found was if you could keep somebody there, so as soon as they hit that point where they're going to sleep, the sounds would change. So it'd go from an ocean sound to a babbling brook, and it would just be enough to kind of wake them up just a little bit and then let them doze off again. And it would just keep them going through that state. So it would be like giving the person an intense bout of REM, really, was what it was doing. You know, 14 nights in a half hour session, that kind of thing.
Right.
And what would happen was it would allow this intense dreaming. So it would allow the subconscious mind to deal with a lot of things
Yeah.
in this dreamlike state. So it's not like talk therapy. In this dreamlike state, so they're sorting it out themselves. And yeah, it was really powerful. I could do it on myself. I could actually do the modality on myself, that one, because I really needed that. But I couldn't surrender to it. I couldn't relax enough to do it. When I was doing the training for it, they put me on it, but with my history of abuse, there was no way I could lay in a room with all those people in there and relax and allow myself to do that, you know. It was just way too unsafe for me to do that.
Yeah.
So enough, yeah, my anxiety never got to the point to allow me to really get the benefits out of that therapy on myself. But what I did find out too is that my brain is quite different than other people's. The trainers on there, when they put me on the EEG, first of all, they were like, wow. First of all, the first question they asked me, they said, do you drink alcohol? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, you don't need to. So my brain, when my eyes are open, my brain is in a meditative state. I'm in alpha all the time.
Oh, wow.
It's just very unusual, yeah.
Wow.
Even though I was anxious, so I should have been in beta. Now I'm in alpha all the time. So what that is because of all the meditation I did, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
don't know. But it makes sense with the gift that I've got because I don't need to meditate before I do it. I can just access it straight away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just so interested in all of that stuff. So yeah, I took all the equipment back to Byron Bay, set up Byron Bay neurotherapy, and started practicing from home. I'd rent out treatment rooms as well in different places as a kind of advertising thing, but also have a place to work in, get amongst other healers, doing different things, different modalities. And when I was doing that, in those healing centers, whenever we were quiet, we'd sit around chatting, and sometimes we'd do readings for each other. There'd be a lot of like energy healers and
Okay.
tarot readers. And yeah, I pick up the cards and I do readings for people. And they were like, wow, why aren't you doing this? And I found when I was doing the neurotherapy with my customers, I would be getting information through for them and I'd tell them. And I found that that was helping them more. Like, don't get me wrong, it is very it's a great modality, neurotherapy itself, it is. But for me personally, I was playing around with it with my conscious states too. So I'd be sat next to my customer, and if I started meditating, I could get my brain into a theta quite quickly. Maybe within 10 seconds, I could get my brain into theta. And I'd be looking at the screen and seeing their brain waves change at the same time. So I was experiencing this resonance between, it's like I affect them, what I'm doing affects them. So yeah, I was kind of playing around with it at the time and seeing that there was this, I had a huge effect on people.
Yeah.
What my mental state was, what my EEG was like was affecting theirs too. I also noticed there was one lady, she came in and this is something that you need to do many times. It's not just like a one-off therapy. People would get like 20 sessions. It was like
Yeah.
you needed a lot of, like any kind of training, like muscle training, you need a lot of it until your brain just kind of gets used to it and makes it a habit. And so she'd been in many times before. This one time, she sat there and she's appearing calm, but her EEG was just off the charts, like she was panicking. It looked like someone that was panicking. And I'd turn around and look at her and she's just sat there calm as. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then she said, can you put something up there? The glare is bothering me. And I said, yeah, no problem. Now, here's the interesting thing. Did her EEG change when I put a sarong up to hide the glare? No, her EEG changed when she said it to me. When she said, can you put, the glare is bothering me, can you put? Then her EEG went back to normal. So
Wow.
it wasn't the thing that was bothering her that stopped her from being in this almost panic stress state. It was expressing it to me
Oh,
that
wow.
put her into a calm state.
Right.
So
Right.
there was all kinds of things that I was finding out by watching people being in this. The other thing is when someone takes a drink too, your brain waves go really good, really coherent when you're drinking, when you take a drink.
Interesting. Very
Mm.
interesting.
I think it's something to do with the with being a baby
Okay.
and drinking your milk. I think that's what it is. But yeah, um, the coherence when you're drinking is really interesting. So yeah, I was fascinated by it all, but I did notice that people were getting the most benefit from my sessions with it just seemed more powerful with the messages that I had for people.
Right.
I was treating a lot of children as well with ADHD. A lot of the time, parents would bring them in, and I found that quite distressing because a lot of the time the problem was with the parent, not with the child. And so my heart would go out to the child because I could see how hard the parent was being on the child, and the parent was being the problem. And then what can I do? They've brought the child in for treatment. So
Right.
to then turn it on them, it was very difficult, a very difficult situation. But yeah, after a while, I was doing the neurotherapy and psychic readings and energy healings and massage. I did the massaging first, in fact, and then yeah, energy healings and psychic readings. and switched to my own shop. I didn't open my own shop. I joined another practitioner who had his own shop, and he would share with one other practitioner. So he wanted to do 4 days a week and wanted someone for 3 days a week. That suited me better because I'd like built up my clientele for all of the modalities, and so I would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and he would do the other days. And it got to the point where I was getting busier and busier with my readings more than anything else. With me being on the weekends, people would drive from other places
Yeah.
to come out for the day. It's a beautiful place, Byron Bay, anyway, to spend the day. But they would want a reading from me at the same time, but I'd be fully booked. So I started doing them online via email and by phone call. I was like giving my bank details out for them to pay me, and then decided to just put it on my website. I already had like my behealing.com. I'd already set that up, but it was more like trying to help people heal themselves. It's more like a charity, just my interest kind of thing, putting it out there rather than a business thing. And I put some buttons on there for PayPal payments for my readings, and then put it out on social media. Oh, now I offer it through this way. Really, it was just a payment method for the people that have been trying to book in with me at my shop and
Yeah.
couldn't get booked in. But as soon as I put it out on social media that I was available, then of course, boom, it blew up. Um, and then I didn't want to be in. Then I didn't even want to be in the shop anymore because I was doing energy healings for people online and readings. Was when I realized I don't need to have a shop anymore. I can just work from home and do everything from home.
Right.
So
Right.
that was the progression. And so I think it was 2011 was when I was working completely from home. It suited me so much to be out of the shop as well, so that I could go with my own energy state, look after myself better, not be restricted to certain days, do the readings and the stuff when I felt like it, when I had the energy for it, and also that I had the time and the space then to become more creative and start building programs for people. So I'd get like a lot of people, say 20 or 30 readings through, all saying very similar kind of things. And then I would put that into a program, like realizing, oh, people need help with this. And so I'd create an online program out of that to help even more people. And so, yeah, and I was writing books as well. So yeah, that was a very creative time of my life. Still is, still working in a very similar way now. Mm.
With doing that and being around that community of healers and people who are doing all these different modalities, did you
Mm.
find that a lot of them potentially had backgrounds that were very difficult growing up as well?
Yes.
Okay.
In a word, yes. I noticed that about Byron Bay itself too. I noticed it in myself,
Okay.
as in when I moved there, it's like I'm here to help everybody, you know?
Yeah.
I'm here to help everybody. I'm here to be the healer. And the truth of it was I was there to be healed.
Yeah.
Um, and I noticed through my years there, I did heal myself somewhat, yes. I had a therapist which really helped me there. I had all of these friends around me. We're all helping each other too, but it was very much like the blind leading the blind, you know. Um, I could see that they mirrored me, you know, a lot of healers. I'm here to heal everyone else, and we were all a mess, you know. We were all a mess, and I think that's the way it is, right? We're
Yeah.
all like that. We're all human beings, and we've all got our stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's very healthy to help people. When you get help and then you help people, you pass it on, you know, you
Yeah.
pass on that help that you've got, and we all help each other. It's always felt like that way to me. It's like I'm just kind of leading people that are just behind me, you know. If I can give them the clue that I've found out, then I'm going to give them that. So yeah, I noticed it. I lived there for 10 years. And toward the end of that time, I would see new people showing up. I'm here as the healer. I'm here to heal people. It's like, yeah, okay. Yes. It's also the whole of the peninsula, Byron Bay, is a volcanic area, and underneath, from the flow from a nearby volcano that made that whole area, it's turned to a crystal. What's it called? It's a black crystal. Can't remember the name now. Obsidian. Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
obsidian, which is a really powerful crystal,
Yeah.
but the whole of that area is on a sheet of that, and it brings up things for people. And so when I had my shop, I did notice people go on holiday there, you know, it's just like a place that people go on holiday. And so I remember there was one lady in particular. She came for a reading with me, and she was quite distraught. She said, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm here on my honeymoon. There was nothing wrong with me. And then I come here, and suddenly I'm questioning everything. I'm wondering why I got married. She's like, I was fine before I got on the plane to come here. And now it seems like my whole life is turned upside down and I'm questioning everything. And I think the area does have that effect on people. It's going to bring stuff up for you that hasn't been dealt with. So that can be quite something. But yeah, there was that whole element of healing themselves, being healed. I got to the point toward the end, the reason that I moved away from there to a more normal kind of a place up the coast was because I didn't need that intensity anymore of struggling people. It started to become wearing to me. I'd kind of gone beyond that. Like, not that there's anything wrong with being there, but I myself had grown beyond that, and I didn't need to be in such intense and such nurturing energy anymore. I actually found a more normal kind of people easier to deal with myself. And so, yeah, especially once my books were out and my programs and things like that, and I was moving more into an empowerment stage myself and creative stage. I didn't need, it's not that I didn't need it, it's that it was actually difficult for me to be in that more successful and empowered kind of a state while being around the people that were kind of still in the mud, you know, still
Yeah.
dealing with all of that kind of thing. It was just two different energies.
Right.
Yeah. Um, and that's really interesting to look back on as well, because now I live in Thailand
Yeah.
and I've found so much more healing since I've been here. It's a more nurturing place, but not in the same kind of way, not in the same kind of a way like we're all healers, but in a way of this is the way that we live. It's like that experience that I had of the healthy families when I was at uni
Yeah.
on a national scale,
Oh,
on a
wow.
national scale, and me being a part of that. Yeah, it's a very healthy community here. It's not that there's no problems and everyone's perfect. The way that society runs here is very different than Western places, and through that, it is. I've found a belonging that I've never found before anywhere,
Nice.
and an experience of extended family. I don't know if you know about Thailand, but in Thailand we have different families. If you work somewhere, you join that family. You don't just get a job, you get your accommodation and you get your food too. You're eating with, and the food's being provided for you. So
Oh, wow.
you get taken care of, you know.
Yeah.
That's just the mindset. Is like you would never expect someone to move from their family and then move to work for you, and you not provide them accommodation and food. Like
Right.
you would help them, you know. It's not everyone's not like individual and left by themselves like they are in the Western culture, right?
Right.
And so wherever you're working is your family, and where you're staying, if that's a different place, you've got a family there too. And for me, I'm into health and fitness and Muay Thai in particular. And so the gym that I go to, that's my family as well. And so there's all of these places here I can go and I'm fed and I belong there, you know, and I'm taken care of by them. Um, I feel like I'm on a small island, so I feel that everywhere here. But that whole being taken care of has been very healing for me to trust people and to ease into that. Of course, I didn't at first. I was very Western minded at first, thinking that everyone's trying to rip me off. It's like, why are they offering me this? Like, there must be a catch. They want to feed me, but I'm not doing anything back. I can't accept that from them. I arrived like that. I'm not like that anymore. So yeah, it's taken my healing to a next level being here, but a gentleness and on a different level rather than healers, which is to me a totally different energy.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's amazing that that's how the culture is there.
Yeah.
It's almost like the
Amazing that it hasn't changed. I think it has changed in the cities. I think
uh,
it's not the same in Bangkok, but any rural kind of a place, it's like that. Mm.
yeah, that it's like communities within communities. It seems like what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the community here is very tight as well. I mean, this island is very small. It's 8 kilometers by 4 kilometers. So it's not a very big place at all. Especially during COVID times as well. A lot of the people that were working here, of course, couldn't stay here anymore, had no ways of supporting themselves when the tourists weren't here. And
Mm,
so a lot of people had to move back to the mainland and go back to their families. And so very much got down to a core community here that could stay here. It was paradise then. To have the whole of the island to ourselves. You could have the beach to yourself, and I could just ride out into the roads without even looking because you see the same people every day. It's completely different now. So it's so busy now with traffic and everything. But yeah, that core community here it's something else. It really is. It's very, very different than the Western world. And it seems I've been here for 8 years now. It seems like I needed to experience that to not just to heal myself, because I feel like I've gone beyond now. I
yeah,
feel like I've gone beyond healing myself to the point where I'm building something that's a life that's much better than could have been experienced both in England and in Australia
right,
too.
right.
Mm.
That's amazing. Uh, I, it, um, it makes me happy for you.
Mm.
Because I could sense when we started the conversation, that amount of pain that was there
Mm.
that you had experienced. Um, and the way you're talking about life now and where you're at now, it's definitely much lighter. Um,
Mm.
so I'm very happy for you for that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
for for someone who might not understand fully um, what a reading is or what it's like to get information. Um,
Hmm.
can you explain just a little bit about how that might be of benefit to them?
Sure. Well, readings, it's about the current energy. I think a lot of people think of psychic readings as predictions, but it's not. If it's a prediction, it's based on current trajectory, If if you see a kid at school being a bully, you can kind of predict from his current energy what he's heading for, right? And in the same way, a reading will tap into your current energy. And if there's a predictive aspect of it, it's about where you're headed right now. Now, so the very fact that you get a reading changes that, because once you become aware of something in a reading, you're going to change the way that you're headed, probably, hopefully, anyway, because you've got more information about it. And so I made a deal with my guys. Had a lot of different abilities like clairvoyance, clairsentience. So I was seeing things, I was hearing things, I was sensing things and feeling things. And some of it, like the clairvoyance, I didn't want anymore. I don't want to see dead people. Like, I've got PTSD. I don't, and anxiety problems. I don't need that stuff. I
Yeah.
don't need to be freaking out. And so I got clear with my guys. Okay, I'll do this stuff to help people, but here's my boundaries. I don't want to see that stuff. I don't want it to be on all the time. I just want it to be on when I'm working and then off. And so I made all of these deals, and one of those deals was I I want to use this to help people to heal themselves, and so my readings are very much focused because of that, because I'm working with my guides all the time. It's not like I'm trying to figure out what the information is or even trying to tune into it. I just go like, okay, give me the information, and then I give it to the person. It's that easy for me. So with that in mind, yeah, I am focused on what's in your energy, things that perhaps you're not noticed. Just as if I was looking back at my 18-year-old self or 3-year-old self, there's things that I wasn't aware of that from my perspective now, I'm aware of them. And in that same kind of way, I can do that with other people too. Something you might not be aware of that's in your energy, I can tell you about that, perhaps tell you about the trajectory you're on, but more often than not, tell you a switch of focus or a an understanding of why you've got that particular energy, where it came from, whether it's even yours in the first place, whether you
Right,
just
right.
picked it up from somebody else.
Yeah,
Often it can be things like a hurt from, say, from parents
yeah,
or from anyone really. Hurt, so you're holding an energy because you're hurt by somebody. And to make sense of it in our own minds, we make that person wrong and bad. Whereas people always have a reason, no matter what it is that they're doing, they've always got a reason for doing that. It makes sense to them. It's kind of right for them,
yeah,
or they feel justified in it. Even if they know it's not right, they feel justified in it.
right.
And so sometimes the readings will be about that. It'll be about somebody else. It'll be about who the person that did that to you and where they were coming from. And especially when it's a parent, especially when it's someone in the family, it can be to try and protect you from something, but we get things so very wrong when we're parents. We really try and do it differently, and then we find out later, oh, I did it pretty much the same, and I had no idea that that's what I was doing. I thought I was doing the opposite. So a lot of stuff I found over the years when people are hurting from other people, once they know where that came from and that it was actually an act of love in a very misguided way,
Yeah,
it can they can just release it like that. Can just release it like that. You don't have to do anything huge to feel yourself. It's just gone once you've got that information.
right.
Just it's like instant forgiveness, instant understanding. I'm not sure I like forgiveness as a concept at all, but I think instant understanding allows to let go of her. It hurts less. Yeah. It hurts less. And yeah, for me, I've been through a process like that myself. I understand it because I've been through a process like that of, I know that my parents had it worse than me. It's like there's no way they could be like that unless they were internally terrorized themselves. And I think they still are.
Right.
And I think one of my parents has kind of recovered somewhat, but one of them for sure, it's still terrorizing themselves. Um, and that's got to be so hard.
Right.
And how, there's just no way that anyone like that could bring children up healthily. Yeah. And I see myself, I had my children in my 20s. I was nowhere near healed then. And so of course I'm going to be passing things on to the kids too, as well as I tried to do it myself.
Right.
Didn't manage to shelter them from it. I think it's one of the biggest travesties of nature really is that we can only have children when we're young and before an age that we've healed ourselves and really know ourselves.
Wow.
It would be so much better if we could have babies between the age of 50 and 70.
Yeah.
It'd be so much better.
That, that's a
There'd
very,
be so fewer problems in the world if we could
yeah,
have children at that age.
that's a very interesting take on that, but it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
Mm. or we need to stop having the parents being the ones that bring kids up.
Yeah, I could.
You know, something in Thailand that's interesting along these lines. A lot of my friends, my female friends here, Thai friends, are between the ages of, say, 35, 45, and they've got young children. Now, almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them also have grown-up kids too.
Okay.
And I remember like a few years ago when I'd find out each one has got a grown-up kid, it's like, oh, really? Because they weren't parenting that grown-up kid. Their parents were.
Oh, wow.
In Thailand, there is no way that they'd let a very young adult single parent, not even a couple, parent a kid like that. No, it's the grandparents that bring that kid up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So in that same kind of a care way, it's like you wouldn't expect to, you know, not be taken care of, have somewhere to live and be fed if you're working. Nor are you expected to bring up a child either.
Right.
Um, so even like I've got a friend. Yeah, I'm just thinking now he's living in Australia now, but Thai, and he is divorced, and so his family, like the extended family, are looking after his first marriage children. He still has a lot. There's a lot of interaction there, but it's very much, you know, it's the village, it's the family that take care of them, and so yeah, I think the Western way of the parents taking care of the children might be the problem rather than the age that we can have them.
Yeah,
Mm.
I can very much see that. I know my grandparents on my mother's side, um, both are passed now, but I remember um, here in the States, we currently are in Detroit, um, but they were all, both sides, dad's side, mom's side, were both from Tennessee. So there's a whole different cultural mentality in the South compared to the North.
Okay.
And I remember when would go down there for vacation or holiday or any of that type of stuff. Um, I was always really kind of uh, attracted to wanting to be around them more than I was anybody else because it always just seemed as if they understood me better. They were more compassionate, more loving,
Mm.
those types of things. And I was really drawn to being around them when we were down there. And even when we would just go somewhere else to visit, it was like I missed them immediately.
Yeah.
So I can understand how that cultural dynamic of looking after the little ones um, helps into their development and their growth
Yes.
over the years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And here on the island as well, because it's such a small place and such a tight-knit community too. We have like island animals. There's the dogs of the island, which pretty much roam free and everyone knows who they are. It's same with the children. The children have more freedom here. I'm really jealous of them growing up here because they have a lot of freedom and they have a lot of people looking out for them too. And I had an interaction a couple of weeks ago with somebody because I'm helping out with the Muay Thai gym here, a Muay Thai gym here, and we have fight nights. We had one 2 nights ago, in fact. And so these are big events, you know, a lot of tourists there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids will be there too, a lot of the local kids. And so they're all running around together, of course. And it would appear to the tourists that they're by themselves, or, you know, the parents aren't keeping an eye on them from that Western viewpoint, you know. And anyway, there was a teacher, a Western teacher. Um, I didn't know that at the time, but she was talking to one of my friend's little girls by the bathrooms. And I was going to the bathroom, and so I said hello to the little girl. And at the time, this lady was asking her, "Where's your mom?" You know, really concerned about her, that she seemed to be by herself. And so I chipped in, "Oh, mum's over there by the ring. Um, and dad's away at the moment," and, you know, because everyone in the community knows all of everyone's business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Don't worry, she's here with everybody." You know, there's for a tourist, they have eyes of like seeing this mass of people, but as a local, it's like the tourists are just noise, and you see where all the locals are. Like, there's just no way that anything could happen to her. And there's no way, because we're looking out for them all. Yeah, so there is that community aspect,
Yeah.
you know, of bringing the kids up. And I've noticed, whereas in the Western world, the interactions that I've had with kids, when they need some security, something scary is happening, or they're just a little bit nervous, they want to find mom or dad, you know, and they'll hold on to them, perhaps hold the leg or something for a bit of reassurance. The kids here, they don't do that. They just reach for the adult that they know, any adult that they know. And so a lot of the time, I've been that for the kids here in a way that I never had that experience in the West. I never had a kid wanting me to be the parental kind of an adult in a situation before. But yeah, that happens all the time here.
That's amazing. Very much
So
amazing.
there is this, yeah, there is this belief of the adults that I know, that they're trusted people as much as parents. It's more fluid that way, you know. It's not all of the onus on the parents, all of the responsibility on the parents, all of the blame on the parents.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
Fascinating. Very fascinating. I want to go back just a little bit to your musical abilities. Um,
Mm.
because I relate music, I relate any creative expression, honestly, to connection to the creator,
Mm.
the original source. Um, but music has uh, almost a different element to it in the fact that its tone, its frequency, its vibration, those types of things. Um, for somebody out there who is just maybe is gifted with musical abilities like yourself, or is looking to get into music, what might you recommend for them to slip into that place of connection in the process of learning that may enhance that for them?
Right. It's interesting that you asked that, because I've had some interesting experiences with music, especially with playing music for other people and music itself for me.
Yeah,
So I told you about my operation when I was 8 years old. Before that, I'd been learning guitar
yeah,
at school. So it was like an extracurricular kind of thing. I think at lunch time I'd go in for 15 minutes or something, and they would teach me a chord or something like that. And I was finding it really difficult. I was finding it really difficult, and I had to think about it and, you know, put my fingers in the place and this. And then I had my operation, and after, I could play guitar. So I'd had a little bit of teaching, and then afterwards I could play guitar without thinking about it. Um, so the reason I'm saying that is there's another way that I used to teach my children as well. And this is where I taught my children to ride a bike. They'd have a go, you know, holding their seat and getting them to have a go on it. Of course, they wouldn't be able to do it, but it giving them the experience of that and a bit of teaching in it. And then when I put them to bed that night, I say, "All right, okay, I want you to dream of it now. Dream of you're riding your bike, you know, the wind's flowing through your hair, you're going really fast, you're going downhill, you're having a lot of fun." And I would, like, instead of reading them a story, I just get them to be visualizing that until I could see that they've really got that, and then they drift off to sleep like that. Next day they'd be able to ride the bike.
wow.
So it's that power, it's not like the power of visualization, but it kind of is. But it isn't just that. It's the power of taking something that you're trying and then you're learning, and then adding on top of that. I think there has to be that base level of learning, but then there's adding the magic to it, you know, and
Right.
your power to it with visualizing yourself doing it. And then I think it feels like it's connected to the nervous system to me. We can do things, we can do a lot of things when we trust ourselves and when we're relaxed, and
Right.
we can't do when we are like, I'm thinking back to myself trying to play guitar and I was just so stiff and, you know, this finger here and this finger there,
Mm.
and that's not playing guitar.
Right.
There's this flow state, and that flow state comes from relaxation. It comes from having a relaxed nervous system. And it's like we teach our nervous system that we can do something. And if we convince it enough in a visualization or a dream, then we can do it. We'll relax enough that we can do it because we've got that information. I mean, we don't need to learn that much really
Yeah.
to have that information and know. Do we even need to learn at all? I don't know, because we've got connection to the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
So there's so much that we already know and that we can tap into the how
Right.
without learning it one-on-one ourselves. And so just tapping into that place of knowing, like, I know how to do this, and trusting ourselves and being relaxed enough to be able to do it. And so there's that dreaming or the visualization, if you prefer to call it that, or meditation, that could work for people too.
Right.
But yeah, it feels to me like it's a nervous system thing and about trusting ourselves and believing in ourselves and our ability to do things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. To me, that's part of the empowerment process too, is that if we can trust ourselves and be relaxed in the world, we are we can do so much, and we know what to say, and we will do the right things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Along a similar line, this gym that I'm involved with now, it's a long story, but when I first started doing Muay Thai, I fell in love with it. It was before COVID, and the gym had to close down in COVID time. The owner of it went back to the mainland and opened a gym there. He was never coming back apparently, but then he did. He came back last year, and very prominent person, very well-loved person, very generous person on this island. And so of course everyone wanted him to come back, and everyone wanted to be involved in it and help him to do this. And so he didn't have the funding to build this stadium or any of that, but a lot of the community came together. And so I was reading out the sponsors 2 nights ago. I'm the MC there. There's probably about 12 sponsors of it, owners of the whole stadium. And there's probably about, wow, 30 of us that put these fight nights on. And here's the thing, there's not one boss and there's not one person telling everyone what to do. And it all just happens somehow.
Right.
It's like we're all moving as like one organism
Yeah.
when we do those things. And it's great. I mean, it's so much fun. It's so much being a part of something like that. And the feeling afterwards, like we did that in such a disorganized, people would have no idea if they came to it how disorganized it was. But it just because it's not chaotic. It's not chaotic at all.
Right.
It's like we're all like I said, it's like we're functioning as one organism. I think this is what we're heading to, the whole world. I think this is what we're heading to, this kind of way of being, of relaxing, and trusting each other and being part of these communities, you know, rather than having a job.
Right.
I have this job and there's this one thing that I do and I'm responsible for that. And then someone's bossing me around telling me what to do. All that control and hierarchy and stuff like that. I think we all know what to do. when there's a shared vision
Yeah.
and when we're relaxed. And it's the same, be it music, be it running fight nights at a gym, and all of that. I see that we're moving toward this more connected paradigm where we don't have one job, but we have many things that we're interested in, and we don't even need to organize ourselves. That we'll all come together when it's time to do that, and we'll all know, you know. So you could have like, I don't know, 10 different projects or things. You might be doing it with other people, and intuitively, you'll know when it's time to focus on one of those things. You won't even need to call the other person up or message them. You'll know it's the day to sort that out.
Right.
Such a free way of being, you know. When I shifted my business from the shop to just online and I was working from home, I got really deliberate about, okay, how do I want to do this? Do I want to do 9 to 5 Monday through Friday? No, no, I don't. I want to be able to work when, you know, to be free enough to work when I want to work. That sounds wrong. I want to be able to do whatever it is that I want to do. And I do want to do things and I want to get creative sometimes. But I can't say be creative every Monday, Claire. That just doesn't work, you know.
Right.
Some days it's flowing, and some days I think, oh, I'm going to have the day off tomorrow, and then I wake up and I think I'm having the day off. I've still got my PJs on, and then a few hours later, I'm just writing, you know, and I'm writing the script for videos and all kinds of things, and
Yeah.
it's just flowing through. So that freedom to be that, and I did that from day dot doing my business online, um, because it works really well for me,
Right.
and that freedom is so important. And here's the thing: when I started working the gym,
Yeah.
helping out at the gym, I wanted it to be the same thing. So I said, like, I'll do the social media for you and I'll do whatever, you know. But there's no, I need to be there at a certain time. There's nothing like that. There's nobody telling me what to do. It all fits in perfectly. So yesterday morning I went there and then I shot some videos of the people training to put on the Instagram, and there's nobody telling me to go there and do that. I
Right.
just do it. It just flows perfectly, and then I won't go there for a few days maybe, and I'll be working on this stuff, and it just flows perfect. And here's the thing: it's like there's nobody saying we need to have a meeting about the next fight night or whatever, and we're all getting together. There's none of that. But when I do show up, those people that I need to talk to about something, we all manage to show up at the same time, you know,
Yeah.
and just that whole flow. It's such a beautiful way of living. And it's just such contradiction to, but then you've got to pay your rent by this certain date. It's like, oh, what? Like that is just not part of the flow. What's going on? You know, there's these Western aspects of hierarchy and systems and stuff that we've got to comply with, that it's just so jarring to it, and we've got to kind of drag ourselves out of it. I found that in my business so much, because I'll be creative and I'm not even thinking like a business person. I'm not thinking like I need to make money from this. And so I'll do my creative stuff, I'll put it out on my YouTube channel, and then I'll be like, oh, I needed to pay my rent. I should have monetized that in some kind of a way. Um, I think I think it's at odds. I think a lot of the structures that we've got, especially around money and hierarchies and stuff like that, is at odds with this way of living and of trusting ourselves. So you're asking about the music. It might be, and I've seen this in my readings too, it might be about letting go of something in your life that is really restrictive to your energy, that has got nothing to do with music, or you think it's got nothing to do with music,
Right.
but is causing you to be in this restricted state. And it's perhaps like, as we were saying at the start, it's so normal too that you're not even seeing it.
Yeah.
You're not aware that that thing is in your energy and someone else is, because they're living in a different way and they don't have that thing and they used to have that thing. And so they recognize that thing in you. It could be something like that. So to get ourselves to a place where we can go with the flow and have this almost telepathic way of being in the right place at the right time and be relaxed enough to go with that flow and trusting ourselves enough, trusting the world around us enough that it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
It requires a whole load of healing, a whole load of, trusting ourselves, and a whole load of opting out of those systems as much as we can that causes that jarring, that no, but you need to put this peg in this hole
Right.
while you're doing that. Yeah. And honestly, that is one part why I'm still here in Thailand, is to from England, which had a lot of rules for the sake of rules. The you can't do that based on absolutely nothing, based on someone just likes to put a wall in front of you.
Yeah.
To Australia, much more give it a go, you know, much more easygoing in that way, but still a lot of rules in place.
Uh,
To Thailand, which is very much about common sense. I see it on the roads more than anything.
okay.
The road rules, yeah, we've got the road rules like everywhere else, but we don't follow them. It's more on common sense. So things that would make people really angry, probably, I've never been to America, but probably in America, definitely in England, definitely in Australia too. Like, it would make sense rather than following the road rules. Like if I'm turning right and someone else is turning right too, for me to scoot behind them,
Right.
right? It's just
Yeah.
easier. And
Yeah.
that's what we do here. That's what we do here. But we can only do that when we can trust everybody. Can't trust tourists on the roads here, but we can trust each other, that live here, because we go with the flow, and we're not angry at each other when things like that happen, when rules are broken,
Yeah.
because it makes sense
Right.
to do
Right.
it. It's easier. And yeah, I've the only road rage I've ever seen here is, honestly, it's been Americans, Americans doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's a small island. Where do you need to be?
Right.
Like a
Right.
small tropical island. You need to be somewhere
Yeah.
fast. No, you don't. You really don't. So that easygoingness, it comes from trust, and it comes from Buddhism. I think. I think the reason that this country is like that is because it's a Buddhist country.
Yeah.
And so with that, they're meditating, they're taking responsibility for themselves. To me, it seems like the most sense of religions. The
Yeah.
rest seem to be about control.
Yeah.
Buddhism seems to be about the individual, and it makes such a difference. Yeah,
Right.
it makes such a difference.
Yeah. I can see that. One of the things that was coming to me as you're talking about the community and working with the gym and different things like that was just the symbiosis of the community scenario. It's just working together, um, within a state of not really thinking about it, but actual just moving with it. Um, and I think
Yeah.
that was um, it was very appealing to hear you talk about it like that.
And from a Western mind point, I can imagine people thinking, how could that possibly work?
Right,
But
right.
it does.
Yeah,
It does. And maybe more so on an island because, tropical island, chilled out vibe. Nothing needs to happen in a hurry.
yeah. One of the things that, in terms of relation to a cultural, spirituality element, where you're talking Thailand is kind of rooted in Buddhism. Um,
Mm.
Here in America, which it's not at the forefront anymore, just because of society. But the Native American culture is very much rooted in the similar thought process, and way
Yeah.
of living similar to Buddhism.
Yeah.
And I,
Native Australia too.
yeah, I
Yeah.
I resonate with that a whole lot. Um,
And they have the dreaming as well, both Australia and the Native Americans, don't they too? And that makes sense because that's what I've experienced myself, is everything starts out as thought or a dream.
yeah, yeah. With working with the gym, did you also start practicing some of the Muay Thai technique
Mm.
in fighting?
Yeah, that's what I started first. And
Okay.
that was a huge healing for me as well. That was like the cherry on top of my empowerment, of my emotional empowerment. Um, I started 7 or 8 years ago
Okay.
training there. And yeah, and so Muay Thai, it's punches, elbows, knees, kicks. And I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
I'm very strong, I'm very powerful, I'm very fast, and I'm very fit now. And there's a lot of things that I can do at age 54. A lot of things that I do that I was never able to do before, like, jumping up in the air and then kicking
Yeah.
whilst up in the air.
Yeah.
That body dexterity to be able to do things like that. But what I noticed when I first started is that I very much my nervous system was very much at signs of trouble, especially around violence or any kind of threatening situation, which to me would be a whole lot more than it would be to other people. So my body would go into freeze around any kind of disagreement, really,
Mm.
because my nervous system was just, taught to that everything was a danger.
Yeah.
The slightest bit of unrest was danger, physical danger to me. So that's how I started. So my nervous system would be very much freeze born as well. People pleasing, to make sure everyone else is okay so that I'd be safe. And with the training, and I was training every day, probably training about 3 times a week at first, but it turned into every day and then twice a day. Once I realized I was training with professional athletes and I
Yeah.
started doing that to have the experience of it. Within the first couple of years, I noticed that I was having this shift in my nervous system to my immediate reaction to physical threat would be fight or defend. Yeah, not so much run. So once I'd developed these automatic defense and attack responses, as you do as you're learning, first of all with the pads and then doing sparring work with other people, it just becomes normal. These kind of attacks become normal to you
Yeah.
enough to have instant responses of defense and retaliation, And what I noticed, there was a couple of incidents where I've had to use it in real life. One of them, three of them, in fact, was with the same person. It's just someone that was, a Thai guy who's overly familiar with me where he shouldn't be, and
Oh,
he's gone to grab me. And each time it stopped after a while, after I did this 3 times there before he stopped. The first time he came toward me and he tried to grab me, I just push kicked him. It's called a teep. I just pushed kicked him away, which is it's a really powerful kick, just to kind of the chest or the belly, but it's enough to knock you backwards and perhaps fly backwards a couple of meters, on the floor
yeah.
and in front of other people, and it hurts their ego when you do that to them. Anyway, yeah, he needed me to do that to him 3 times before he left me alone. Another time was when I was in a bar and a tourist came in extremely drunk and extremely aggressive, and then kind of grabbed me in a hug, but tight so that I couldn't get away. I turned around, like I thought it was a local, someone that I knew, first of all, and then it's like, no, it's this random stranger. And so, told him to get off me. And so there was that instant reaction, which is just so different than old me would have been. He approached me again. I was playing pool and I had a pool cue in my hand, and so I've got into this aggressive mode with him, and then he saw and then left me alone. He went and got someone else in the headlock. He caused a lot of trouble with a lot of people that night, but not with me. And you know, a few years before that, I would have been the victim of him. There would have been a lot more that would have happened to me because of the way that I would have responded,
Yeah.
yeah, to him previously. And so I have noticed, yeah, it's changed the way that I deal with situations, or just I know I can handle myself in any situation, you
Right.
know?
Yes.
There's very few people that are more trained than me. And perhaps I wouldn't be able to, handle myself in a situation with someone more trained than me. But the majority of people aren't. And so with that confidence in myself and my abilities, literally to take someone down that's bigger than me, I've sparred against guys that have been bigger and stronger than me, and I've won.
Yeah.
Though it's just gentle sparring, I've got more control of my body, and speed
Yeah. Yeah.
than they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can trust myself and I can be in any kind of situation. That self-trust and empowerment has just been huge for me. It's I think it's the thing that allowed me to stop drinking alcohol in the end.
Okay.
Because I was still drinking alcohol when I was going out, in order to take that anxiety down. I got
Right.
to a point where I think I don't need this anymore because I'm confident in myself anyway. And I would step up, and I have stepped up as well when there's been threats, or just when people are being badly behaved. I'm the person that will go up to them and say, "Hey, stop doing that. We don't do that. Don't come to our island and do that." And I'll be the instigator of things like that. Like I never would have done that before. I'd be way too protective of myself. So I find that I'm more in life now because I can trust myself because of that. Yeah. There's a lot of women that train my time. It's very popular, and I think for that reason is that we can defend ourselves, we can trust ourselves better, and we can stand in our power that way
Yeah.
instead of, always being the ones to have to stand back and not be protected.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, it has been instrumental in me in that empowerment. There's only so much you can do in the internal work and dealing with your emotions and all of that kind of thing. There comes a point where you have to actually move through the world. And admit to what the world's like and what a lot of people are like, and still trust yourself enough to be out there amongst it and deal with whatever comes your way. And Muay Thai has definitely given me that.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that out, and was hoping that that's what it did for you, and
Mm.
was fascinated that it did do that. Because here in the States, mixed martial arts and the UFC's becoming this behemoth, um, but there's still this little bit of uh, distance between integrating the female athlete into that arena as well. It was there for a while, and then it seems like it's tapered off just a little bit, and might be coming back in, a little bit more predominantly. But I think the element of being able to learn a mixed martial art, um, can give people that sense of confidence, um,
Yes.
sense of being able to protect themselves or at least defend themselves in a situation that might otherwise render them completely defenseless. Um,
Right.
and uh, I was very interested when you started talking about that, because I was like, oh, I want to get to a point where we can bring this up and bring this out to the
Yeah.
forefront of the talk as well.
I think Muay Thai is getting more popular around the world now as well, and it's different than MMA. It's different than combat sports. It's a combat sport, yes, but it is a martial art.
Right.
So um, fight nights are not as aggressive as you
Mhm.
might think. And if they are aggressive, it's because it's somebody that's quite new to it. It's very much a martial art. It's on a point system. Yeah. Sometimes people get aggressive and go for the knockouts, but not everybody does that because generally, if you're a professional fighter, you want to stay in the ring for those 5 rounds and you want to be able to fight maybe in 2 days' time or next week.
Yeah.
And so you want to do it by points. And so a kick to the body that's unblocked will be 2 points. You'll get the most points for that,
Yeah.
And so when you're watching two really good fighters, it's more technical and really impressive once you've once you're practiced in it. And then when you watch the new people, especially Westerners, when they first fight, it's like they forget all the training and they just go in boxing, and it's really, really uncontrolled boxing too, just like flailing around. It's like I find it really interesting. I've never been in a fight, and I'm not going to either. But I've trained with so many people and watched them do their first fights, and you just never know what someone's going to be like. As much as I've sparred with them and I've seen them sparring with a lot of people, there is something that happens in the brain, and it's random. It's random. You just can't pick it. Some people will be calm as, and they will, follow all the training, and you'd think that they were born in the ring. You think that they've been fighting since they were a 9-year-old. And then some people, they can be so good in training, and they just lose it. It's like the adrenaline kicks in, their eyes are wide, and they just don't remember any of the training when they're in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. There's a part of me that wants to know what I would be like. There's a part of me that's scared of what I would be like in a fight. I've got a bit of a fear of just like being so aggressive and, annihilating the other person. Because that's another thing too, is that part of it was me being okay with my aggressive side as well. After being abused so much and a lot of it being violence toward me, I was so against violence. I would disassociate from it myself. No, I'm not like that. I'm not like them, completely denouncing it with myself. So much so that, like I said, not defending myself, not retaliating when it's correct to retaliate, ignoring an anger that's coming up for good reason because someone's, you know, doing something to me or being unreasonable, or there's some kind of injustice there. So not feeling that emotion and then making it okay to actually respond to that emotion. And so a big part of my training Muay Thai was making friends with my aggressive side. I've always been a strong person, um and now I'm not just friends with it. I enjoy it. I do it for fun now.
Yeah.
Me and my friends, we fight each other and it's a lot of fun. We're not hurting each other. Very rare that would happen.
Yeah.
So there's this respect in Muay Thai, which is different than the combat sports that you see in Western countries. Yeah, it's very different. It's more technical. There's a lot of respect involved. And when people don't come to the ring with that, that's really frowned upon. It's like, that's not okay. It's
Yeah.
not okay to do that. It's not okay. Like before a fight, you'll see them hugging. You watch Western fighters and they're face to face and being aggressive with each other and then talking bad to each other and about each other. In the media, it's like, no, there's none of that with Muay Thai. You
Yeah.
just wouldn't find that in Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So it is quite different.
For sure. One of the things that I know in terms of native warrior culture, one of the most honorable things for a warrior is to be able to uh, just touch the enemy rather than kill the enemy. And
Yeah,
I think that's a similar scenario with what you're talking about with Muay Thai, where the the actual competition component of it, there's more points giving for something that's not necessarily a destructive blow, but just a
right.
tapping into
Yes.
that access
If you
point.
manage to connect without them blocking it. Yeah.
Right.
And that body control of being able to block, so you can stop them from getting points by blocking. So if you're blocking the punches or you're blocking the kicks,
Yeah.
then they haven't got that point.
Right.
And so yeah, it's about control and it's about speed. you
Correct.
know I've got to the point now where I've done it for so long, and it's just so much a part of me now that when I'm sparring with someone else, I can really irritate people. I do really irritate people because as soon as their guard is dropped ever so slightly, as soon as I can see, and I'm not even looking at the face, I'm looking at the body, but I can see as soon as the guard is dropped, and then they've got my left hand in the face straight away. And I'm not punching them hard at all. I'm not jabbing them hard.
Yeah.
It's soft, but it's so fast and it startles people. And I'll do it every single time. And so it's not fun for people sparring me a lot of the time if they're going to do that. because I'm like, you've got to learn how to block. You've got to learn to have your hands up all the time, because that's going to happen every time. It's like, I'm not trying to annoy them. Like, I'm not trying to annoy them. You see that in fights sometimes, especially with the push kicks, is once someone realizes they can kind of bully the other person and keep on pushing them away with their foot, and it can really wear someone down, as much as knocking someone to the ground, sweeping them off the feet over and over again. It's kind of like a bullying, like, I've got control of this. Um, and it might feel like that to someone else that's sparring with me too, because I am so fast with that. But it's not. It's just, I cannot help this arm from flying out like that, because that's what it does. That as soon as you've done, I'm not thinking, oh, they've dropped their guard. No, my arm just flies straight out in that situation. Same as my leg flies up if they come to kick me to block it. So it's those instinctual reactions that, yeah, it allows you to keep control of the situation, and keep people away from you if you want. That's what I've found in real life, is that I can keep people away from me if I want, no matter the situation, whether I'm lifting my leg up to block, or whether it's using my hands to push them away, or using my foot to push them away. It's or my knee. In fact, even in close proximity, I can get my knee up and in your solar plexus, and that's going to double you over. There's a whole load of things, or even spinning around, with the elbow. But I don't think I would ever use an elbow, not unless I was really being threatened. Then I'd use an elbow to, perhaps knock them out.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it is. You're right. It's about controlling the situation. Yeah.
for sure.
Mm.
With the healing work that you're doing, how much would you recommend what you're doing versus some traditional medicine in terms of being able to get somebody to a place of breakthrough?
Okay. I think there's benefit in both, like psychotherapy, you mean, as
Sure. Yes. Yes.
yeah, I think there's benefit for both. I've had psychotherapy and it did help me a lot, but it's different.
Yeah.
It is different. And here's the difference, what I found myself personally. With psychotherapy, my therapist would disempower me in a way.
Okay.
Almost, it's not really disempowering. It's just the difference, right? So the psychotherapist would acknowledge that I was a victim in a situation, right? And there is a power to that, to realizing that and acknowledging that something has happened to you, having empathy from someone else, and like, yes, this happened to you. So there is a power in that. But the psychotherapist also said to me, people around here, meaning Byron Bay and the healers, will say that everything happens for a reason and that you're responsible for everything that happens to you and all of that kind of thing. And she was warning me that that was not healthy for me. But here's the thing, is the work that I was doing with my guides personally were saying that to me, you're responsible for everything.
Okay.
And I think both are very, I think they're both useful. Both
Right.
points of view are useful.
Yeah.
It's almost like I needed to acknowledge that I was a victim and that I wasn't the instigator of that and it wasn't my fault. It happened to me, but this is what the world's like. And so it's my responsibility to walk through the world and be able to deal with what is in the world. There are people like that. And I need to be able to deal with it. And so that's my responsibility, is how I deal with it, right? So that being said, when people come to me, say breakthrough coaching sessions, which I offer, which is just like a video chat like this, is to take somebody, generally when people come for psychic readings, it's because it is a gentle, it's because they're wounded, and because it's a gentle way. You know, it's not like psychotherapy. It's they don't have to face something as, you know, as head on as
Yeah.
they would in psychotherapy. It's a more gentle approach, right? And so that's why you find a lot of women are open to tarot and to getting their guidance that way. So it tends to come with a lot of wounding, right?
Hmm.
And so to get through that, you've been victimized. This happened to you and it wasn't your fault. And you are not responsible for that. But here's what you are responsible for. And in order for you to be okay about what you are responsible for, you need to deal with these things. And to deal with these things, you need to know what was behind those things. Yeah. Like I was saying before, like the original hurt,
Right.
and the information of what that person was trying to do or how they were justifying it or where that came from, is important in that, to let that go. And it's like, okay, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. Because you know what? In the Just like it happened to me in the psychotherapy and the saying you're a victim and all of that, there's this little voice going, but there is part of it, that you're responsible for. And I think we've all got that voice inside of our head that we know deep down. It's like, I'm the common denominator, though. It's me that this keeps on happening to. So you can tell me that I was just a victim to that and it could have happened to anyone, but I know it keeps on happening to me and it's not happening to that person there. And so it's that, in a compassionate, empathic way of saying, yes, you were a victim to this, but here's how not to be a victim to it next time. And here's why it's natural to you to be a victim to that, why it feels normal to you, and what you've been trained to do or not trained to do to deal with that in a particular kind of way or not deal with it, and where that instigates from. So that's what I find. People come to those breakthrough sessions with something. It could be like a weight issue that they've got and they don't get where it's coming from,
Yeah.
or anything, just like there's something wrong and I can't tell what it is, but I'm not feeling happy. And then my guides will tell me, take us on that journey. So it is very much, it has to be a compassionate approach because people are hurting. Like there just seems to be so much trauma around.
Yeah.
And people are hurting, and there's just no way anyone could hear anything without it being a compassionate approach
Yeah.
and an empathic approach, to let your guard down, and relax a little bit, because yes, this happened to you, and it's hard. It is really hard, but you are more powerful than you think. And let's find that power for you, and how you can deal with the situations. And so there is like this, it's so similar in that way. A good psychotherapist would do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But I tend to do it in one session, you know.
Right.
It's and what it's like, every time there's just a point that the session gets to where they've just got it, they've heard the information. That's the powerful thing about it, and that's what I recognize. That's why I started doing it instead of the neurotherapy. Is it's there's one thing that someone needs to hear, and it's going to change everything. It's going to change everything once they hear that one sentence, and it's going to make a whole lot of sense to that person. Yeah. And it's the delivery of that. It's the management of their emotional state to be able to deliver that, for them to let go of everything that they were holding on to.
Yeah. I
So
think
I
that,
said I don't like forgiveness. I think the whole concept of forgiveness, I've never really been able to figure it out. Because what makes more sense to me is understanding and then a letting go. I get that, yeah,
yeah.
and understanding and then a letting go, being able to drop something when it doesn't bug you anymore. There's nothing there left there to bug you anymore because you figured it out. You know, that to me is way more powerful. To me, like the concept of forgiveness is trying to jump there without the understanding. It's like trying to let it go when you haven't dealt with it yet.
Yeah, I
So,
that was a perfect explanation. Perfect explanation. And I think that's a great place um, for us to close out here too. One of the things that I always want to remind the audience at the end of an episode is to listen to your heart and be kind to your mind.
mhm.